Hello.
Hi.
Can you, I was about to ask, can you hear me, Amanda? Hello, Miss Krista.
Hey, just tidying up.
You're good.
Wednesdays and Thursdays are like the absolute busiest days of my week. And Ava's making something for school tomorrow. And anyway, the OCD struggle right now is real. Because there's like baking stuff everywhere.
Hello, Tina.
Hello.
And there's two that I can tell that's coming in by phone.
Yeah, this is Jen Chilcote.
Oh, hi, Jen. How are you?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you. And is it Laura?
Yes, but I have not figured out my camera yet.
Okay. I'm glad you all was able to join us. Hello, Melissa. Can you hear me?
Girls, you good?
Can you hear us, Melissa?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Laura.
Hey, Tina. Hello.
You're showing muted, Laura, so I'm going to unmute you if that's okay. Well, I guess you won't know.
Is that Laura Oldenburg?
Yes.
Yes, but I don't have video yet. I don't know.
Okay, I was saying she couldn't log on.
But I downloaded. I'm good to go now. But I'm just still in my system settings, seeing if I can get the
video.
You should only, hey, Ashley, you should only need one can.
See who else.
Small one that we already have out.
Okay, I'm just sitting here checking, seeing who we have on here. This is going to be recorded too, by the way. If you need to go back and take a look at it, I will email this out to you guys as well. But let's just give it about another minute or two, and then we will jump in and get started. But I'm gonna step away because I need to go get my notes.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Congratulations. I'm so excited for you guys at Alconbury.
Thank you. We're super excited.
I know, because you guys are going to do awesome there. You're a perfect fit for there. And Ryan's doing good in Texas?
Yeah, he's doing good. He was excited for us. I figured he would be a little upset, but no, he was excited.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Please do the dishes.
I was just talking to someone who was going to Alconbury at the superintendent course, and I was telling them about you guys. Telling them you're going to be an amazing team.
You know who it was?
That you're going to be an amazing team.
No. Do you know who you were talking to?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for saying you were going to be amazing.
I can see her face.
I don't remember.
That's okay.
Hey, hello. How are you?
I'm good. The girls, so Ava decided at 6:58 today, this evening, that she has to make food for Fun Friday. And because they don't have school on Friday, it's now Fun Thursday. And so, of course, so she looked up a recipe, and she is making like cream cheese and Oreo balls dipped in white chocolate.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Yeah, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
But also a lovely, lovely mess. I mean, there is like pieces, like they use the little mixer, right? Like we have a handheld mixer. They use the handheld mixer, and so there's like pieces of like Oreo and cream cheese, like just like on the walls of my kitchen right now. we're gonna pretend like it's all okay, and we're gonna ignore it. We're just gonna ignore it until it goes away.
So someone else cleans it.
Right?
Yeah, so that was what I told them. I said, your requirement is to clean the kitchen now. And Ashley's response was, "We're really good kids, Mom."
Get the dogs out there.
I know. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Just set them on the counter. They'll lick it clean. It'll be
They'll like it totally clean.
so ridiculous.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started because I know it's, I mean, you all have busy lives, so definitely can understand that. And I'm happy we're all able to get on here today. And we got a couple veterans on the line as well to be able to share some of their experience. So, so for us to go ahead and get this kicked off, what I would like first, if we can just go around and share who we are. So share your name, share where you are currently located, and because we do have some excitement for people who's already got jobs, if you know where you're going, if you know the new place where you're going to as a command team, then share that as well. Okay, so whoever wants to jump out there can go ahead.
I'll start. I'm Tina King. I'm currently at Lake and Heath, and we will be going to REF Alconbury in June.
Woohoo! Congratulations! So excited for you guys. And I'm like, and you stay in your safety. Woohoo!
And
Love
in
it.
the UK.
Yeah, and the UK, right? So awesome. We're really excited for you guys.
Thank you.
And next.
I'll go. I'm Melissa Rendon. I work currently at Ramstein with the 86th Airlift Wing, and we've been here since August.
Woohoo! And they came from the UK, but really they came from Ramstein. And she was in Spain.
From Ramstein to Ramstein.
Ramstein, yeah.
We've got a little face as our goodness.
All right, next.
I am. Oh, go ahead, Amanda.
Sorry. I'm Amanda and currently at Milton Hall. Not going anywhere yet.
And how long have y'all been there?
4 years.
4 years. Woo. Awesome. And next.
So I'm Krista, and we are currently at Aviano, and we are not going anywhere either.
And she's been bouncing all over the place too. You know, Ramstein, Spangdahlem, Aviano.
We like Europe a lot.
Okay, and next.
I think that's probably me. I'm still trying to get my video. Sorry, guys. I'm Laura Oldenburg, and I am currently at Ramstein. Also just came from Lake and Heath not too long ago, and we currently do not have an assignment yet either.
All right. Look at all these UK people. This UK. There must be something going on there. I haven't been stationed there yet, so don't think I will, because you know we're about done. So okay, and I do think we have one more.
Yeah, it's me. It's Jen Chilcote. We just got to Ramstein in September, and my husband's up at USAPI staff.
All right. Okay. Exciting. All right. So congratulations to all of you guys who are candidates / have a place that you're going to be going to already. This is a very exciting time for the team. And I say that as a team because it is a team that's going to be going in there together. Because whether you realize it or not, which with this crew, I think you already realize it, but you as the spouse has a lot to offer when you're coming in with this position. So it is definitely a team effort, and whatever you want to put into it, it will be completely up to you, but we will be discussing some of that today. So just to share a little bit about me, my name is Yolanda. I think you all know me. are, of course, right now we are at USAFE. We have been here, it'll be 4 years for us in June. And we will be moving down to Stuttgart the end of July. And so hopefully that'll be another 3 years there. None of that, Melissa. And so we will be moving down there. And so, but really just be down the street. I'm like, you guys up here at Ramstein will still see me popping up here. And I'll just jump in the car with Krista whenever she comes up and comes to Ramstein. But so yeah, so the purpose of this call was really for one to congratulate you all, but also give you an opportunity to pick the brains of those who've been there and done that, especially if you know you're about to step into that position, because you know you have that job, and to prep you so that you're ready when it comes. And so that's why I'm glad we have some veterans on here, because they can share as well kind of their experiences going through this. And so, but really I wanted to kind of start off kind of in the beginning, like, you just found out you got it, and we're going to kind of walk through this process of what do you do when you know you're going to a new base, and how to kind of get that started. But I believe Amanda and Tina, who all went to the Command Chief candidate course?
I went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
Amanda,
I went last year, Laura. I went last
Laura
year.
went last year. Okay. And Jen, did you go?
No, I didn't. It was 2 weeks after I started a new job, so I couldn't go. We had just got here, so.
Oh, okay, no worries. I just wanted to see for sure who had went. So, so for those who went to this last one, and Laura too, if you want to pull some things from when you went as well, I just wanted you to share. Not now, because I didn't ask you guys this ahead of time, but you can think about it. So I just want you to share with the group what were some of your takeaways from going through that class. Okay, so not now, but definitely by the end of the conversation, you can kind of share that some, so you can think on it a little bit and kind of be ready to share that. But anyway, I wanted to kind of go in there, like I said, start this process, and then I'll be asking from Krista and Melissa to kind of share as well. But I kind of wanted to start it off though. You found out you're going, okay, and want to work through that process of what do you do now that you know you're going into a base, you know, you've gotten the notification, kind of what are those steps and how do you do that? So one of the tips that I throw out, and then Mel and Krista, you can also jump in as well as we're going through, is of course to reach out to that person who's there. It doesn't always happen that you can reach out to that person, but if it does and it allows you, by all means, reach out to that person. Don't wait for that person to reach out to you. Sometimes they will, sometimes they may not. It just is what it is. And so if you found out, as soon as, to me, I don't want to say as soon as you find out, but they may think, ooh, she's a little excited. So, but soon after you find out, especially when you're ready to start going there in your mind and getting ready to get into that position, then that will be one of the tips that I would say is reach out to that person who's already there. Sometimes they may have a continuity binder that they can pass on to you. Side tip though, if they don't, then guess what you can create when you're in the position? You can create a binder that you can easily hand off to the next person so that they can have something in their hand to kind of look at and reference to. And so I was giggling at Krista's little dog that popped up there. They both look exactly alike, so I can't say who's who. But that's one of the things that I was going to throw out there too, was those two things. But Krista and Mel, is there anything else you would say that you would do before you get there to kind of get yourself set up?
I joined the spouses pages before coming here and before going to Lakenheath. It's a really balancing act, I think, trying to figure out like how much do you want to do before you get there and not make the people feel like you're trying to push them out, right? But I just kind of joined the spouses pages to see what was going on, get information about the area, And I was lucky enough when we went to Lakenheath that Holly was in the youth safety conference course. So I was able to talk to her and get some information from her and get to meet Kirsten before I got to Lakenheath. Coming here, I didn't have that because Tina had been gone for a few months, but I was able to pick Yolanda's brain since she had been in this position. So yeah, I think just kind of getting your feet wet and figuring out like what the conversation is in the base that you're going to. What for me, it was kind of like, well, what am I going to have to work on when I get there? What are people needing? So that was helpful for me.
So I will say the spouses page is one thing as well. And it really is just getting a feel for the community and what are their likes or dislikes. Just what am I coming into myself personally, right? And then if you don't have that continuity with a chief spouse that's already left. So for here at Amiano, the spouse left several months before we PCS'd in. So I had no contact whatsoever because she went back to the States. So, but our command spouse had already been here for about a year. So definitely making that connection, right? Even if it's not with your chief spouse to get feedback, making that connection with your command spouse, because she'd already been here for a year. And so she already had some continuity and could give me the lowdown on what was going on. And then from that point, starting to build those relationships with your group spouses.
And one thing, and thank you ladies both for sharing, spot on, both of you. And one thing that I just want to kind of spotlight a little bit, because I know Mel, you had touched on it as far as kind of being a little mindful too, when you are joining those things that the other team, especially if the other team is still there. Because even Mel, like on her way, before they got here, she even asked like, hey, should I post out there yet in this group for this particular thing, or maybe should I wait? And we were like, let's just wait until you're officially there, actually at Ramstein before we reach out, because just like she had mentioned, you don't want anybody to feel like you're stepping in before you're even there. So, so I'm glad you had brought that up, Mel, because you want to be mindful of that and be respectful of that. And it doesn't matter whether that spouse that's currently there is active or not. Definitely join them, but be mindful of inserting yourself into anything yet before you guys are officially there. But it's definitely a good idea to join those, because you can kind of on things like we're going to UConn, but I've joined UConn. I've joined the Stuttgart USO page, and I've joined the Public Spouses Club page already. I say nothing at all while I'm on there, but I'm just like Kristen and both said, it helps you get a good heartbeat already of the area you're about to go into before you're even there. And it lets you see what programs and stuff they have already implemented. Like I've already downloaded the Stuttgart app. So if the base that you're going to has an app, that would be a good idea too, to go ahead and download that down on your device, like their official page. So if they have an official page like that. So anything you can do ahead of time, and some of you may not have that for your base. It depends on the size of your base. But if you do have those opportunities, I definitely just piggyback on what they said. Do whatever you can to get connected before you're even there. Because when you get there too, you're going to be incognito a little bit, but don't assume you're going to be incognito long, because if you're active, they're going to know who you are very quickly. I remember when we first got here, I'm like, man, there's like 50,000 Americans here. We're just going to blend in. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to go to the commissary and no one's going to know who I am. When I first got there, it took no more than maybe 2 weeks, and I'm at the commissary and people already knew who we were. And I'm like, are you joking me? Like, I just didn't think that would happen. So just realize that in some of the places you may be going to is way smaller than here. So can you imagine they're going to know you even faster than they knew us. And this was a huge community out here. So And speaking of incognito, I'll just throw this out there, and I'm pretty sure the other two ladies do the same thing. It is nice when you're incognito when you first get there and they don't know who you are. That is a great time to sign up for some of the things that, like with me, I go to the HeartLink. I know they say it's for new spouses, but I like to go because, for one, I want to see what we're offering the spouses that's coming to the base that I'm at. So if we're going to be at the wing, I like to sign up for the things that I know our spouses and families are going to be going through. And to me, the best time to do it is when we're new and they don't know who I am signing up. Okay. And so I will sign up at the AFRC. They will not know who I am. They may not like it, but I do it anyway. Or go into the USO or going to those places and do it while you can incognito, because then you really see the real deal. Because let's be honest, when they know who you are coming in, sometimes you're not going to get that same treatment. They may kick things up a notch because they know you're going to be there in the class. It just is what it is. So take advantage of your incognito status when you first get there, because they may not know who you are yet. And that gives you that opportunity to kind of get out there and see things. So speaking of that, to our veterans. So when you are, let's say you're at that new base, do either one of you have certain things that you look for at a base? That is just something you know now from experience. When I come to a base, these are some of the programs that I want to get my eye on as quickly as I possibly can.
For me, it's the Spouses Club. Whatever Spouses Club is at your base, that's one of the first things that I plug into. And then the AFRC also. So going along the lines of what you were saying of being incognito, I like to go through the regular in processing class, because, you know, they give you, so when you become the command chief team there, they give you like an executive in processing class. And so you go through it, everything really quickly. And they have everybody there coming in to brief you and so on, normally. And so what I did at Lakenheath, I didn't get to do that here at Ramstein, but I did at Lakenheath. I went through the regular in processing class so that I could see what everybody was going through, and then meet all the newcomers that were coming in and kind of hear what struggles they were having, because we weren't getting the same experiences they were getting. You know, things like TLF and the things that they had in their TLF room. We found out that they didn't have all the stuff, and, you know, so on. So that's a really good opportunity for you to see kind of what everybody else is experiencing, because you're not going to, as soon as you come in, you're not going to experience the same PCS that everybody else is experiencing. So that was one thing, the AFRC and kind of the programs that they're having for newcomers, the PCS page as well, kind of looking at that to see what you're experiencing versus what everybody else is experiencing, so that you can give that feedback. And for me, Red Cross is really important. So plugging in with the Red Cross as well. And like the spouse sponsorship, you know, type piece. So those are the ones that are really important to me.
So I will say it was definitely the AFRC, just because it's the heartbeat of every wing that you're at, right? It is really what leads our families. So definitely plugging into the AFRC is number one. The newcomers piece, because we did, Aviano struggles with some things when it comes to like vehicle registration and what you're authorized, and Italians have different laws than Germany and other locations. And so it makes things a little bit more difficult. So we did make sure that we kind of followed that same path as the airmen, so that we could say, okay, this is where the process is broken and we could fix it. And then they do a fabulous tour with the AFRC every Friday here. So hopping on the bus when nobody knows who you are, and, you know, going to different towns or whatever. And I mean, it's just an awesome opportunity to meet people. And then like the FTAC piece. So we have a portion where the FTACers go on a hike. And so we've been privileged enough to be able to join them on their hikes, which kind of gives you a little bit of insight as well to like new airmen never being here before. I guess it really just depends on which base you're going to, on what you're hearing, right? Like I want to go to the place that people are struggling with so that we can try to fix it. So it's really, again, it kind of goes back to that, getting that information beforehand so you can see where you need to step in at the beginning while nobody knows who you are.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Thank you, ladies.
Just to that real quick. So I didn't realize this, but when we got to Lake and Heath, they had sent Ernie's picture and bio and everything before he got there. So if you're walking around with your spouse, they might know who you are immediately. So like that first weekend that we got there, I think we got there like on a Sunday, and that night we went to go eat, and then we were in the little club kind of looking around, and Airman stopped him and said, "Are you the new Comanche?" So just so that you realize, they do get their bio and their picture. So if you're walking around with them, that might be a little bit more difficult to be incognito because they've already seen what your spouse looks like. So if you get a chance to break out by yourself, that might be better.
And it's something that you mentioned, that because what you say is so true. When we were PCSing over, we were in Maryland, and the lady there who was part of, the travel portion was checking us in, and she saw Phil, his ID, and she's like, "Oh, you're our new chief that's coming in." And so we're like, we haven't even made it to Germany yet, and she already knew. They're prepping them ahead of time, and I'm sure they knew we were going to be on the plane and stuff like that. But she was just checking us in, and she already knew. So just like Mel said, they know you're coming. So they're going to know your active duty member's face, and so it kind of. I think that's why they end up knowing you so quickly, because if the two of you are seen together, they're just going to know who you are. And then as you're getting out being seen, they will as well. But a lot of times some of the organizations may not yet, because you have to kind of go to them. Because I know the USO is another big one. I know for you, Krista, that's kind of to your heart as well, as something that you look into whenever you go to a new place. And so that's one as well. You will get an immersion from the AFRC. They are supposed to reach out to you within 30 days of you getting to the base. But if for some reason schedules is kind of crazy and they don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I need to take a look at the AFRC," because I'm going to piggyback on what both of the ladies have said already. Hitting that AFRC for me is my number one and my top thing that I do when we come to a base, because just like they said, that's the heartbeat of the base. Most of the things that deals with your families are coming out of that AFRC. And so you definitely want to get a heartbeat on that as quickly as you can, because if it's not a strong AFRC, that could be part of the reason why they're struggling some on your base. If they have the programs and stuff that help support your families, then you may see your families are stronger and being more resilient. So this is the same. I ditto that as well. AFRC is definitely a huge thing for me. For me, also, the Key Spouse program is huge. So whenever I'm going into a place as well, especially being overseas, for me, it's a big thing, because I just feel like stateside, Key Spouse program is important, but I didn't feel like I needed it as much stateside. But when we went to our first overseas duty location, I was like, yeah, it was very helpful for me to be plugged into the Key Spouse program. So I do like to take a look at that. And sometimes the way you can get a heartbeat on that as well is talking to your commander spouse and also your group spouses. So just like Krista had mentioned earlier too, you've got some spouses who's already been on the ground before you even get there, hopefully, and that's your group chief spouses. So use them as well, because you can find out, literally, if you have them all together and just start chatting, you're going to hear very quickly, if you ask questions about the Key Spouse program, on who has a strong program and whose program may not be that strong. And not that you're throwing them underneath the bus, just have the conversation. You just ask some questions and you're going to tell. Just, hey, tell me about your Key Spouse program. Some of them are going to just blurt out all kinds of stuff. Oh, we're doing this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And you can tell they got it on lock. They're great. And there's some who's just going to be quieter. And that can give you a telltale sign of maybe who you might have to give a little bit more attention to, or what you may have to do to kind of help that program in that area be a little bit more robust, if that is your passion. Okay. It was mine. And so that's why that's one of those top things that I take a look at. Other things that I wrote down, just to know, I know Mel had mentioned the Spouses Association or Spouses Club. They're called differently, but at different bases. But normally, though, you will have an automatic position on that board. So do know that. It's still up to you, of course, if you take it, but I mean, I'm not going to say everybody does it, but most of us step out there, and because they're going to have you as an honorary advisor, either honorary advisor or straight up advisor. And so just be prepared for that, especially if you've never been in them before. And I'll be very transparent. I never did. Being prior military, I thought it was a drama. And to be honest, I did not want to be part of it in the beginning. But then I found out from a friend who was in the position before we went there. She said, oh, by the way, you do know if he gets it, you're an advisor. I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. And so that's when I went and started getting brushed up more on it. And I did become that advisor and really work side by side with them just to, for one, learn myself and kind of get up to speed, which is why I suggest, even while you're working with your group spouses and your other spouses who are in this journey as well, encourage them to join before they get to those positions. I would have loved now, if I had been more involved in that before, then I wouldn't have had such a big learning curve later. So, but anyway, I wrote that down. So just know that you will have an advisor position on there on your club if they have one. I mentioned the Key Spouse program. Airman's Attic, that's another program that is on most bases. Sometimes it may be called different, but that's where people can go and get, they don't have to pay, of course, to get things that's been donated to them. And how it's ran just depends on the base. Here, like some bases I've been, it's kind of under the chief's group, but the spouses kind of are the ones who come in and step in and help. It just depends, but not saying you're getting in there to help run anything. Normally you're not there to help run it, but you at least just want to get your eyes on it to see how it's going and how they're doing, and if there's anything you can do to kind of assist them with it. Another thing I wrote down, I said the USO, the Red Cross was mentioned. Also the SLO, so your school liaison officer, that's another person that you want to interact and chat with. But like I said, you should have a base immersion. And so you can make sure that that is a stop or a person that you will be able to come in contact with during that immersion. But that's so that they can get you up to speed with your schools and stuff, whether they're on base or whether they're off base, so that you can get a heartbeat on that, okay, and kind of ask those questions. EFMP is another program that you also want to kind of get your eyes on as well, just again, so you can kind of see how it's going on your base, maybe what the biggest issues are in EFMP for your base. They're going to be different depending on the bases that you're at. But it's another one that is good to get your eyes on as well. As you're going through, I just put some stomp programs, not that because they're not necessarily located at your base, but it's just programs I like to make sure I'm pushing and sharing with people. But it is your Military OneSource. We know that's out there, but sometimes people aren't using it. So sometimes I'll even ask the AFRC, hey, do you guys pull in the Military OneSource at all? Are you sharing that with our families? Because it's out there. So it's great if we're using it. And a lot of times I think it's unused. For some reason, I feel like the AFRCs don't like pushing it for whatever reason. But anyway, they just don't sometimes. And another one that I do push a lot and we share at our courses, and I'm not sure if they shared it at your Command Chief course, but it's the Tragedy Assistance Program for survivors. So that's another program that I try to make sure I foot stomp amongst the spouses, because unfortunately deaths does happen in your organizations. We don't want it to happen, but inevitably it does happen sometimes, and you want to make sure you have a program that you can pass to them to kind of help them if that should happen to their families. So Other things that I kind of think of too, or kind of keep in mind whenever you're doing that immersion, is that your active duty members, sometimes they will combine the immersion. Sometimes the immersions will be separate. So I just look at it this way: is I do my immersion so I can get my eyes on the family stuff. And a lot of times these are just the things that really don't have time to fit into Phil's immersion, because his enough is going to be a lot. So we like split and kill two birds with one stone. So he will do his, and they will schedule, and they will have mine as well. And then him and I will come back together, and we will literally discuss the things that he saw, the things that I saw, again, so we can kind of see what are the strengths and what are the challenges that we have at our base, so that we can kind of get a picture of that. And then you're not doing this by yourself. You talk to your commander and his spouse as well, and understand what their vision is. But do know this, is that it is okay for you to go in and have your own passion and your own things that you like to look at. So even when we were at the group, I just love the Key Spouse program. The commander spouse had never really dealt much with it before. So when her and I chatted and had that conversation, she was like, that is not my strong suit, but whatever you want to do with it, I will back you 100%. So let's go do it. And whatever her strong suit was, I did the exact same thing. So we still was able to do the things we wanted in our group, but we just worked with each other's weaknesses and challenges. And sometimes on that command team, you can do that. Sometimes you may not be able to, but we'll discuss that a little bit later. But I did write that down. Let's see. Did you ladies want to share anything else with that, as far as, I don't know if I missed any other stuff that you may look at when you are coming into the base?
I just want to add a little bit to the slow thing. So I would say that I use the slows a lot because you get so many questions. So you'll be surprised by how many text messages, Facebook messages, just people messaging on the spouses page and tagging you, like whatever it is. People will ask you questions and ask you to help with programs that they feel are not doing what they need to be doing. So the slows are going to be a contact that you are going to probably use a lot, between the bus situation, schools and bullying and days off, or whatever it is that people are upset about at that moment. The slows will be someone that you contact a ton.
Yep, exactly. So you want to have their number. That'll be a good thing to have in that continuity book, your MFLAGs, like anything as you're going through the base, because you will. And people will automatically just assume, due to the mere position that you're at, that you have a wealth of information. It doesn't matter. You just got on the base and you don't even have your household goods and you're just trying to get your own kids in school. Doesn't matter. They just look at you as you guys are the wing and you should know all of this. So, but don't think you have to. They may think you do, okay? But don't think you have to. Just have the info of where you can go get it. And that's kind of what you want to think of is, no, you know what? I can get back with you. Give me your name, your email, or your phone number, whatever. I will go check on that for you and I will get back with you. So even you yourself, don't put that on your shoulders thinking you've got to know everything. But I'm not going to lie to you and tell you people will not think you should know everything, because they will. That's just the nature of the beast. They think you know everything and they think you know every single person on base as well. So just know that. Anything else you ladies wanted to add?
That's actually really funny, because I'm not even remotely kidding that I had a message on my Facebook last week from a spouse who asked me what the rules and regulations were on letting a toddler pee on the side of the BX.
Oh God.
Probably not appropriate, but let me get with security forces and find out for you. Like, I don't even know how to answer that question. I don't even know where to go. So you, not even remotely joking with the random the random things that you should obviously know.
Yes.
Probably don't let your kids be on the side of the BX. I don't know.
Maybe not a good idea.
Yeah, not a good idea. Let's not do that. So. But,
One thing that I did want to say about the slow thing also is that even if you don't, like for me, I don't have kids here because they're grown. And so they're in Washington. So I make it a point to try to go visit the school and get a tour if you can get a tour, just because people will bring stuff up, and at least so you have situational awareness, so that you know what the school system looks like, what the school looks like, and as people are comparing, you know, K-Town versus Ramstein, and you know what they're talking about, right? So it helps to just get a tour of the school as well.
very, very good tip.
And I would bring that down to even if you're right, like obviously we have an elementary and middle schooler and college kids also, but we're not involved in the CDC anymore. So I would say even bringing it all the way down to the CDC, because I mean, that's a huge touch point for your population, right? The CDC, I mean, those are all of our young airmen families. And it can really make or break a family if the CDC or the I say AYP because we're here at Aviano, or the youth programs, if it's not running smoothly, or if management is not doing so well in those programs, it's the first thing and the last thing that people deal with every single day, right? So definitely just understanding how those are also working is very, very important.
And I'm glad you brought that up as well, because that is definitely something normally they will take you to that CDC on your immersion. And so the things that you want to be looking for one, to see if you have what's your wait list. So what is the wait list when you go there? Are all of their classes being utilized, or do we have some classes that's not being utilized? What is their, how many do they have maybe waiting on their security clearance? Because that is a long process and it takes a lot of time. And sometimes part of the issue could be there's a hang up somewhere in that as well. So those are just some of the questions you want to have already ready to go when you get there. If they don't cover it, make sure you touch on that as well. And just their staffing, how is their staffing? Are they totally manned? Do we have people coming in possibly? You'll get a good heartbeat on that as well. And on a side note, when I talked about questions, when you are going on your immersion as well, try to always have at least one question ready for each place you're going to go visit. Okay. I'm not saying you gotta act like fake it that you're interested. Hopefully you're interested as you're doing your immersion, but they've prepped for that and they want to show off their organization. So have a question ready for them, because they're going to ask you, do you have any questions? And I'm telling you, when you do have a question, they are on it and they are ready to answer that question. And they're so proud of what they are doing. And so just have something prepared so that you just don't, no questions, no questions, and you just have nothing. It just shows that you're engaged as well. So just prep for that, but they should give you where you're going to your immersion ahead of time. And, but definitely be a little hands-on with that, because like I said, if there's areas that for sure you want to touch, then make sure they put that into that immersion when you go in there. Okay, do y'all have any questions, by the way? If you have questions, please ask questions as we're going, because this call is for you guys. Did you have one, Tina?
I do, but mine is very location specific, since I am going to Alconbury, and it is the 501st Wing that we are over 4 or 5 different bases.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about, I know we will do immersions in all the different bases. That's kind of already been talked to us about. But should I visit every AFRC separately and kind of get the beat on their programs, every CDC separately to kind of get that, or should I just do that in my immersions since they are so widespread?
So what I will share is what they've done when we've been there before. So we've done that full immersion. So from one base all the way down. Fairford, where the one with the W, Fairford. I can't think of it. But it
Hanford, Croughton, Mulford,
Alconbury, maybe it's Mulford.
Alconbury, and then there's one in Norway, which is not.
Yeah. So we hit it all the way down. So I don't know if they're going to do the exact same thing with you when you guys do the immersion, but I can just speak from me. And it was very value added for me because it truly put me into what they deal with. And I was really able to speak to the spouses with knowledge because I had my eye. I understood the commute. I understood that they're living here but going here. And when we went, I did go to each CDC, each one of those CDCs. I met with key spouses at each one of those areas, not like the ones who had it. We met with them as well and seeing all of that helped me prep because when I went to, and I get them mixed up, Croughton or Alconbury, one of them, I already knew, I was hoping they would have spouses from Mulford. Which one? Mulford. But since we had been there, I could understand. And I'm like, I was hoping we had spouses there because sure enough, they had questions. And I knew they would have questions because of the things that they have to deal with. So I would suggest that, but I don't know how they're setting it up for you guys. But I do think it's value added for you to see each one because you're going to see different things at each one. How is being ran? How is that director? What are their issues there? Because while I'm there, I'm asking questions a lot, like, because you're going to have a person who's showing you around. I even ask them questions. How do you like it here? What is your challenge that you see the most here? And it's going to be different from each one of those places that you go to.
So, like I was saying, y'all were talking about being incognito, and so like me driving up to Croughton and trying to do their in-processing class, and for actually not there and wouldn't in process there, would that be something that would even be worth me doing, or that they would allow me to do without knowing who I am?
With that, I would have to say, I'm not sure if you would need to do the in-processing on each one of those unless you just want to. If you are, that may be one you can ask more questions, like to some of the spouses that may be there, or you could have a forum, like you can have a key spouse forum, but in that forum, you can ask some of those questions. How many of you all went through the newcomers class? How was that? And you can kind of get some of those questions that way. But if you desire to do that, by all means, you can do it. I'm trying to see though, if you're traveling to a different base like that, if it was my own, well, see, y'all are over all of them. So really they're all your own. So you could still call and say, hey, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to push this back to you and your active duty member.
Okay.
You guys talk together amongst yourself and say, hey, here's what I would like to do. Do you think I should give them a heads up if I'm going to one of the other bases that we're not at? Or do you think it's okay for me to be incognito and just sign up and show up? Okay. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Because I don't want to tell you one way and then you come back like, well, Yolanda said. So, but I like being incognito though. So that's why you can share with him as far as that's concerned. Because to me, I feel like that's about the only way you truly get an honest read on what's going on. When they know you're coming, I'm telling you, they're going to put the best thing out there for you to see. So, but if you have a desire though to go and hit the other ones and see what they're doing, I would say by all means, if you have time for it, I think it's definitely a great idea to be able to hit it. But there are other ways to do it though. If you don't feel like you can, then I would so pull on some of the other spouses to help get a feel of it from them, because they'll be honest. The spouses tend to be quite honest when you're asking for that feedback. They'll give it to you for sure.
Thank you.
You know, just like when we were at Lake and Heath and I was trying to find out, like, we had Feltwell, right? We had the housing and all that stuff over there. So I got on the Feltwell housing page. You know how each housing has their own page.
Mhm.
I got on to the Feltwell housing page as well, so I could kind of see what was going on over at Feltwell and any challenges that they were having. So that might be an avenue where you can still be in the know of what's happening over there without having to be there every week,
Exactly. Yeah.
So that really helped a lot. And people would message me from Feltwell if they were having issues or concerns. So just so that they know that you're supporting them.
And so yeah, because you guys are spread. So yeah, so that's
Sorry, I know that was a very me specific question, but I just didn't know how you guys handled something that's so widespread.
yeah. And yours is unique. So you're definitely a unique situation where you guys are. But I do know just from visiting though, they are very, very motivated and very, I thought they was, if you want to say resilient, like some of those places are extremely small. Yet when we were there, a lot of them wasn't complaining about the location. They had other things that they were complaining about, which kind of took me off guard because I thought they were just going to complain to us about, oh, I hate it here, I just hate it here, and that wasn't the case, So, which told me they definitely have some good things going there. But I definitely think you guys going in as a team will definitely be a good thing as well to be able to get your eyes on the different things that they have going on. But I was excited. When I left there excited to see what they had going on. So just as a side note, and you all may have experienced this, but you will definitely experience it when you step into these positions. Be very mindful, like, can you say anything out of your mouth? By all means, knock yourself out, okay? But I will say this. In these positions, people take what you say as golden, okay? They take your opinion, they hear your complaint, any of that as golden. Totally different level than what you were, where you currently are, if you as a group, superintendent, team, whatever. So what I mean by this, like if let's say you were moving in and you're like, I can't believe that you're just talking and you're like, I can't believe we didn't have any hot water in our TLF last night. And you're just thinking you're just talking to, just venting. Next minute, somebody shows up at your door ready to fix your water. You never asked anybody to do anything. You just vented to somebody. And the next minute, someone's there to fix your issue. So literally, people take what you say out of your mouth as a representation of your husband. We're all women, so I can say husband. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of who you're complaining to. Be mindful of your opinions you give to people, because don't be shocked if they come back and say, well, Tina told me to do blah, 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 blah. And you were just throwing out some ideas, but they took what you said as you spoke it and we must do it. Okay. So just be mindful of that, because it is at a different level when you step into those positions. They're very, very mindful of what comes out of your mouth, and they listen to everything that you say, because when they see you, they also see your spouse. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's just to kind of be mindful of that.
I actually had that happen. So I asked a question at one of our spouses club meetings as an advisor. I had a question because I didn't know how something worked here locally. And I found out about 2 weeks later that one of the spouses went to the president saying that because I asked the question that I was asking them to make it happen. And that was not my intent. I really just wanted to be informed. So and reflecting back on it now, it's easy to say that I should have worded it differently than how I said it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It happened
to me.
Go ahead, Melissa.
Sorry. The same thing to me. We were at a meeting with the group command spouse, And we had recently moved in, and it was cold, and so I was trying to figure out how the heat worked, how to turn on the heated floors. And so I asked, like, how do you use your heating and so on? And they said, oh, you do this. And I said, I did that. Do I have to look somewhere else? Next morning, someone from housing came. And I told my husband, I said, I think it's because I asked that question last night. So it is very true.
It's at a just different level, and you don't realize it until one of those situations happens, and then you're like, alrighty then, I need to be, and not saying any of those things was anything you said wrong or anything. You just don't realize that they take what you say and they will do something about it. Now, the also huge positive about that as well is that in these positions, you have an opportunity to shine a light on areas that sometimes others just can't, or it takes a longer process to do. So in that position, when you're at a wing like that, to me, that's where you're just blessed when you're in those positions, because you really can change things on your base. If there's some hiccups that's not going quite right, and I know, and I say this because for me, my mind had to switch a little bit, because I was used to being the one to say, we need to fix this and we need to fix that. We should do this and we should do that. And then I realized, oh, we're we. We're we. So we're the people. So then it changed from, okay, what can we do? Here's the issues that we have going on. What can now we do? So that is the positive of them taking what you say, because now when you're at that wing, you have these group commanders and you have these group chiefs who run everything on base. So when there's issues and you're seeing things that having problems, the beauty of it is that now your spouse and you with the other spouses, you just have a more direct link to get things done and make things happen on your base. So that is the positive of that. But on the flip side, just make sure you're a little mindful of what you do ask for. Use your power for good and not bad. Okay. There have been spouses who can use that for bad, and they will go around the base and want an appointment at midnight. And like, who are you to think you can call somebody at midnight to get an appointment? Because I'm so-and-so's spouse. Well, you know what? Who cares? But some can do that, and they'll push their way in because they're using their husband's position. So use your power for good, not for bad. Okay, because I'm telling you, if you use it for bad, I am telling you, the people are going to hear about it. It's going to spread across the base like wildfire. If you're using it for bad, it's going to get around base. I'm just telling you, it is. We have heard it about other spouses before who's doing it, and it will come to fill. And so if you don't think they're going to know, they're going to know, and they're going to tell somebody. Okay, so you don't want that to happen. And mentor your spouse is the same. Okay. One of the last things that I had, and again, if you guys have questions, please ask them, is your command spouse relationship, and how to handle it if you have a command spouse who's not active. Because one thing I did not say, but I do want to make sure I do say with you all, is that when you guys step in as a team for this, your active duty member gets paid, you don't. Okay? Everything that you do, you are volunteering to do. And do not think that there is an expectation coming from, like, y'all so far, or y'all are in the safety right now. Like, there's no expectation for me or my husband on you guys. It should not be from your commander team on you guys as well. You do what you have a desire to do. You don't have to quit working. You can keep right on rolling and keep working outside the home, or maybe you're working inside the home. My biggest suggestion to you is for you and your active duty member to have a very honest conversation on what you want this to look like for you two. Will others have an expectation for you? Yes, they will. And I am not going to lie to you and say that they won't. If you work outside the home, your commander spouse may have issues and may hint here or there about you working outside the home. But when it comes down to it, if you and your active duty member have talked and have said, this is what we want this to look like for us, then who gives a flip of what anybody else say? Okay, it comes down to what you all want to do. So you have to decide what you want to do. This call is just to make sure you have the knowledge behind you when you're stepping into that, to know that here are all the different things you can look at on base, figure out the ones that's your passion and go for it. You might not want to do any of that. Maybe you want to volunteer at some other, do something else. That's totally up to you, but do not think there's an expectation coming. But if you do want to step in and get busy and get your hands busy, you are a part of the team, and you should be contacting and working with that commander spouse. Sometimes that goes well, sometimes that may not go well. And so I just wanted us to kind of briefly touch on that just a little bit. On if it goes well, then that's great. There's not much we really need to say about that. If it goes well, y'all are going to gel. I've had them go extremely well. Well, we had a relationship where we're texting almost every day, because when you're busy and people see you, they will contact you. So because of that, my commander spouse and I was always having discussions, because she might have gotten something, hey, a spouse messaged me about this. And so we're chatting and talking with each other. Or we need to go to the AFRC, we need to work on this. And so we had a really good working relationship that made us be really good friends through that. But then what do you do when you don't have that? What do you do when maybe that commander spouse is just not active and not involved? So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about, that, because I have no idea the situations you all will step into when you guys step into these positions. And it's a conversation you want to have, because you don't want to get blindsided and get in there and be like, I thought she was going to be able to be a mentor for me, but she's not. You got to figure out who those mentors are for you, and just understand it may not always be that commander spouse. It may be somebody else you have to reach out to. So I will go to my veterans as well, is what have you learned that you can do if you're stepping into a situation where either that commander spouse is not active, or maybe that commander spouse is not used to working with an enlisted spouse, or maybe that commander spouse just doesn't want to work with you. What have you found to kind of work through that?
I feel like I'm a veteran in this situation. So I will say that our first command chief gig, the first command spouse and I had a very tough go at it. Hindsight 2020, and lessons were learned, and but I will say the one thing I take away now, looking back, is I wish I would have established sooner, right?
Say that one more time. Establish what?
Boundaries. I wish I would have established boundaries sooner. I kind of let her tell me what I was supposed to be doing, and that didn't fit my lifestyle, right? I work full time. I have 2 kids. What she wanted me to do was not what my heart wanted at all, but I was trying to appease people versus doing what was right for myself and my family, as well as taking care of spouses and our airmen, right? So I would definitely say sit down and have those very, very honest conversations with your active duty member first, and then with your command spouse team, saying, this is what I'm willing to sacrifice, this is what I'm willing to give, and do not budge from those boundaries. Mm-hmm. Because it will eat you alive. It will Yolanda can vouch for being eaten alive. So that would be my takeaway, definitely.
Mm-hmm. That's a good takeaway. I love it.
It took a long time to get to this point. I was a little bitter for a while.
But that's an extremely good takeaway, and very, it's just huge to share that, because that is when you have that first conversation with that commander spouse, and do not wait for her to reach out to you, because once again, they may not all have always had a good relationship with their chief spouse. I figured that out too at one of our gigs that we had, because she never reached out to me for us to get together. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, can we go ahead and have lunch? And just from chatting with her, I just asked. I just ask questions and I just go there. I said, so how was your relationship with your previous chief spouse before when you guys was at the wing? And in chatting with her, she told me we never had a relationship. She did her own thing and I did my thing with the vice's spouse. So that told me a lot. So no wonder she's not communicating with me. She's not used to it. And I'm not going to hold that against her. You don't know what you don't know. And so that's when I shared with her, okay, your husband and my husband go out and they do everything together on the base. I really think it's important for our spouses to see you and I do the exact same thing. And I like I said, I just went there. I said, I'm not saying we got to be best buds and hang out all day and play or do whatever, have coffee every day. I said, but I do think it's important for our spouses to see us together and set that example as well. And so that though opened up a whole different conversation with us, because then she realized I do want a relationship. Whatever you might have had before, that's them. Because people will pull that into the new relationship. They will pull their experience from what they had before and assume this is just how they do it. And it's up to you, like Krista said, that set those boundaries and say, well, this is what I do. And when I sat there, I said, and this is my passion. I love the Key Spouse program. So I really would like for us to take a look at that and blah, 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 blah. It is totally okay, like I said earlier, for you to have the things that you want to look at because you guys are a team. This wing is a wing for both of you all. Yes, they are that commander team, but it is also okay for you to say, but this is also what I have a heart for. I've been asking questions. I think here's the challenge that we're looking at right now. And it doesn't matter if they've been there a year and you're stepping in. Sometimes you're going to hear and see things differently because you're coming in. And sometimes you're going to hear from different people because you're enlisted. Okay. For some reason, the officer spouses just truly feel like because they're normal, they're ahead, that everybody comes and talks to them. And I keep trying to tell them, you are still your husband is their husband's boss. It is what it is. It's going to be a little harder for a young airman spouse to come to you. It's hard for a young airman spouse to come to a chief spouse, lesson on the commander spouse. Okay. And so you're going to hear things sometimes that she's not going to hear, she or he's not going to hear. So it's just good to have that conversation and set those boundaries. So Krista, I mean, you're spot on when you said that. Set those boundaries. And if, you're working outside the home and you're like, as long as you keep having things around lunchtime, I'm not going to be able to attend. I mean, it is what it is. So if you want me there, then I need you to have it in the evening, or at least every once in a while do something at night that I can attend and I can compromise, and at least one time this month I can attend during lunchtime and I'll just take whatever. But anyway, it is having that honest conversation with that commander spouse as well, so that they can know what they can expect or what you guys can expect from each other. So I love that, Krista. So that was great. Any other thing you might want to throw in, Mel?
So just to realize also, like when you were talking about not being able to attend things during the day, you will find that the officer spouses will try to have everything during the day, right? So that's one of the biggest point of contentions that I have had, throughout the last 3 bases, where they want to do everything during the day. They want to do everything in the morning, and at least try to do it during lunch where people could break away for lunch, or in the evening. And that's going to be one of the things that you want to make sure to talk to them about and make them see the point of view that most enlisted spouses do work. And so if you want to include the majority of the base, because the majority of the base is going to be enlisted, if you want to include the majority of the base, you have to do some things in the evening. So that's probably going to be a big battle, because they're used to doing everything during the day. So that was a big battle for me. The other thing also, like Yolanda was mentioning, if you find that your command spouse is focusing on certain things and that's not your passion, it's okay to go outside of that. Like, do your own stuff, like things that you are passionate about. Work with your own, projects. And so just as long as you guys are checking in with each other and you're keeping them in the loop, then that's fine. Like here, I work a lot with Risa. I work a lot with the spouses, and we work on a lot of stuff together. But there are some things that I just do on my own, and that's okay. That's healthy, right? At Lake and Heath, same thing, working with the Key Spouse Symposium and things of that nature. You have to have things that are yours, that you enjoy, not just things that you're obligated to do.
Exactly. And I love that as well. Just like you said, if I had to look back at from the first time we had a wing, I wish I had have realized that it was okay to do things separate. Thankfully, though, we had 2 command spouses, and the second one was just very inclusive. So she taught me a lot as far as having my own voice and my own things to focus on, because I was just kind of taking the lead off of her a little bit because we had never done it before, and I was just trying to get my feet underneath me to try to figure it out. And but I like feedback. So when before I left, I asked her, I said, what would be something you can tell me to be better at when we go to the next one? And she's like, know that your voice is important and it needs to be heard. Because just like Mel said, you're representing the majority of the base. And so that is a loud voice that sometimes has not always been heard or even invited to the table. So just realize that as well, is that you're representing that. And so when there's things that we want to do, just like within USAFE, when we are wanting to push the spouses attending things and to do the superintendent course and including the spouses and things like that, that is not something that I went to Mrs. Walters and asked. That was something we knew we wanted to do. But by all means, I did share that with her. I did say, hey, here are some of the things that we're going to be doing. I would love for you to come and speak at it and participate with it. But I did not go and say, can I? No, it was, this is what we're doing and we would love for you to be a part of it. And I would always let her know when it's coming up and all of that good stuff. But that is one thing I wish I had realized from the get-go, is that we did have that separate voice, and it didn't have to always be us doing it together as a team. But thankfully, like I said, the second one that came along, she just grabbed me. She really was a mentor for me that I needed to help me with that. I think being prior military a little bit too, I was still caught up in officer spouse, I had to get over a little bit of that in my head. And then once I did, I realized you do have a voice. So that's very important, what you shared as well, Melissa. So anybody else have any questions? Because we're about to kind of wrap this up here.
One last thing I just wanted to say, it's okay to disagree with your command spouse. Like, it's okay to have a different opinion, right? So if you're discussing something and you have a difference of opinion, the main thing is just to come united when you're presenting whatever you're presenting, right? It's okay to hash it out in the background, say, take a stand and say, this is the way I feel, so on and so on. But when you're out in public, you're united as a team. But you do have your own opinions, and you should make sure that they are heard. At least you've said your piece for the enlisted side of the base. But they're going to make their decision however they want, right? Because they are the command team. So, but at least you have made your voice heard.
Yeah, very good point to go throw that in there as well, because that is so true. Just because you want to show a united front doesn't mean you're always agreeing. But like you said, when you are in public, you show that united front. Because Phil and I are both the same. It's the same with him, and I'm sure as your active duty member as well. They'll go to their boss, and maybe they don't agree. But when the final decision is made, then you jump on board and you support it. Okay? Maybe you didn't agree behind doors, but we have a decision and we need to move forward. And you don't want to be the one that's still sitting complaining, like, well, that wasn't my idea, that's why it flopped or whatever. Because once the decision is made, you jump on board and you see it all the way through to the end. Okay. And so I think that's very key that you shared that. What I did want, though, our veterans to share is what has been, share why you have loved and enjoyed being in this position.
For me, I feel like I have truly, truly enjoyed being an advocate for military spouses for me is so important. I was at a Hiring Our Heroes event today, and they were helping us with LinkedIn, because I'm a moron when it comes to LinkedIn. And so they were helping us, and they were talking about titles that you put on there. And I really wanted to put military spouse advocate. That's pretty much what I wanted to put on my title. I am so passionate about military spouses because I feel like the sooner that we can get them involved, the sooner that they learn all the resources, the sooner that they find their passion, the less likely they are to ERD, to be miserable when their spouse is working all the time, so on and so on. So for me, it's just helping our spouses, young, seasoned, whatever, just find their passion and be the best military spouse that they want to be. It doesn't mean the same for everyone. But that is a true passion for me. And this platform allows me to help people with that, whether it's the Key Spouses, the Spouses Club, whatever it is. People are looking to you for guidance and mentorship and so on. And I really, really enjoy helping those coming after us. Kind of my way of giving back to the Air Force for everything that we've had a chance to have.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm going to start to cry.
Thank you so much for sharing. And you can see that in everything that you do here, that's being that advocate. So thank you. Miss Krista?
Okay, so I am so blue. I'm so blue. I am like the caregiver, the mom, that is truly like, that's where I am. So this position has allowed me to be a mom to even more people, right? I'm not just at the flight as a mom to 50 airmen or 50 spouses or whatever. Like there's an opportunity to be that person for anybody who needs it. And I think that's where, that's really where my heart is I'm truly, truly, truly like just a mom, and I want everybody to be taken care of, and I want everyone to have a hug, and I want everyone to have a birthday cake for their birthday when their parents can't be here. So I think that's what has been the best thing for me anyway, is just having those touch points with everybody, right? Literally everybody. Like I walk into the coffee shop and everybody is my best friend. Like the guy who does my appointments at ortho is my best friend. And I don't know. I'm really just overly positive.
Are you part of Operation Birthday Hug?
So we have done that. Just so you know, we have done that where someone has put in a request for their child to have like a birthday cake, and we've gone and given people birthday cakes.
It's the absolute best feeling because they're here alone and you get to make their day. Most of them don't have anything planned.
We've done it several times, and it's awesome. It's absolutely fabulous to like walk into somebody's office and be like, hey, your mom asked us to give you a birthday cake for your birthday. So here, like, it is amazing.
Awesome. And I would have to agree with Miss Krista. She is the mom over there and has totally left her footprint on places that she has been and how much she helps out and serves the community. So I would have to agree with that for sure. So what I do want to do now, though, I know I had asked you all in the beginning, those who attended the class, what was like your biggest takeaway from your course that you attended? So if y'all want to throw those in there real quick. Or I'll call out. Miss Tina, would you like to go first?
Sure. So Mrs. Goldstein came and talked to us a little bit and talked to us about her mentor and kind of her takeaways that she got when she was mentored. And the thing I got the most out of that was just how do you want to be remembered? To go into a place thinking that, and then continue to check yourself. Am I the person that I want to be remembered as? That really spoke to me, because that definitely, I want to be remembered as someone that they like, not as someone that they hate. So, yeah.
I like that. Thanks for sharing that. I'm like, okay, mental note. I need to write that one down. I like that.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. And Amanda, you want to go?
I think a lot of the stuff that I took away has kind of been repeated here. One of the big things I think is you don't have to do anything. Like you're not expected to, and I appreciate that. Like I want to, but I don't. I'm such an introvert, and it takes me a minute to get comfortable. And it's good to know that you know, I could make that choice.
Exactly.
But also to figure out what you're passionate about and maybe concentrate on that rather than trying to do a bunch of things kind of half-heartedly. Figure out what, you know, a few things you're passionate about and give more of yourself to that.
Exactly. Thank you so much for saying that and highlighting that, because it is true. Sometimes when you get to a base, it could be overwhelming depending on the situation you're coming into. You may see lots of things that needs attention. And just like you said, for one, you can burn yourself out if you're trying to do all of it at one time. And like you said, you can do it half-heartedly. Like you're like, I am so not into this Airman's Attic, but they keep pulling me and asking me to, you know, so what you said is so true. What we like to do too is just go in and then prioritize. Here are all the things that we see needs help. And maybe like, and I'm just using the Airman's Attic as an example, maybe that's something that does need attention, but who says it has to be you? You know, you may have a spouse who's excited and who likes to volunteer and go in and do things, and you notice that, and you could just do a side conversation. Hey, what do you think about going in and getting your eyes on blah, 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 and seeing how it look, whatever that is. Like we have the stork nest, you know, you could have a spouse, hey, can you go in and just kind of take a look at that stork nest program? And especially they like to volunteer. So there's still sometimes a way of doing that without you having to be the one to have your hands in all of that, because it can be overwhelming depending on the base itself. I mean, if it's up and rolling and doing great when you get there, then maybe not. But sometimes you will enter into areas that need us a lot of attention, and it can be overwhelming. So what you said is so true. You know, knowing, for one, you don't have to do it all. You can pick and choose what you want, and do it at your own pace as well. So thank you for sharing. And Laura, did you want to, I know you didn't go this year, you had went last year. Was there anything you wanted to share?
I think I just really enjoyed being with the whole group of just all the individuals were so different, and so many spouses. And I kind of tend to, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit of a conformist, where it's kind of like, oh, you're going into this role, and then there's this picture in your head of what that role is supposed to look like, and then you're supposed to go and you're supposed to do that. And I think that for me, it was really a few of the people, and then take some of those relationships back, right? And watch, like on the chief spouses page and stuff, some of the people getting assignments and going and just kind of seeing where people are, and just seeing people, just kind of getting that reassurance that I can be me, and that there is a huge variety of what being the Command Chief Spouse can look like, and just kind of trying to make sure that you're genuine in what you do. Kind of like Amanda said, that's way more important, to kind of have something that has your heart, and to really go out there than to try to fill shoes of somebody else's picture.
Exactly. And that's one thing when you talk about filling shoes, is something you have to make sure you try not to do. It's very easy when you go into a place for others to kind of compare you to who was there prior to. But just make sure, can y'all all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah, your face froze, Mel. So I was trying to make sure my internet wasn't acting up. But is to, don't you compare yourself to the other person who was there before you got there. You're not trying to go in and fill anybody's shoes. You have your own shoes. So go out there and do your thing your way. And it may look completely different than the person that was there prior to, but don't compare yourself to that person that was there before you were there. And that's something to remember. So thanks for bringing that up, Laura, is that it's going to look different for each and every one of us. And, but I'm not going to lie to you. Others sometimes will compare. I mean, it is what it is. They may do it, but just make sure you're not doing it yourself and putting maybe more expectations on yourself than what you should be. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Y'all have been hanging out here for a bit. I do appreciate all of you being on. Mel and Krista, thank you so much for being on and being able to share your experience with everyone as well. Last chance for questions live. Of course, you can always hit us up at any time, but does anyone have any other questions before we get off? Okay, so if not, we're going to go ahead and end this. Like I said, though, we're here for all of you ladies. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to hit us up. As you're getting things, if you're staying in the MAGCOM, once you guys are in the seat, I will pull you into our MAGCOM Facebook group that we have. So that'll be another little area that if you want to have questions or want to ask, we're all on there. Not saying that we're not constantly talking in it at all. Okay, but if you have questions about anything, you can definitely put it out there and you can ask because it's there, and everybody who's represented in the MAGCOM is on there who has Facebook. Some may not be on, so they're not on there, but if they have Facebook, they should be on there. So anyway, thank you all again for joining, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.